So welcome to the online meeting for Team xAPI in LiveCode. It's 3:30 on Wednesday the 7th of April, and we'll be putting on pause until some people join in. Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Joan and Kevin have both said they're going to be running late today. And then I just updated the Slack with a note. Wait, click. I just now updated the Slack with a note that I've been able to publish the xAPI reporter file. Basically, we've gone over it the last two meetings, and all I've done recently was add in an example from the library page, the templates page at the Gitbook site for the video profile. So I'm going to post that URL into the chat so you guys have a chance of understanding what I mean. And then the templates page is different than the data model page. The data model page defines all the verbs. The templates page actually has sample JSON, and that is showing sort of what we're using in the app. Hey, Kevin, you weren't too late. You were able to join us. We are just sort of getting started. I just gave an update that I've updated the file that we collectively were working on as an update to Joan's xAPI reporter. So that is out there in GitHub if people want to take a look at it and pull it down. Any comments or questions to start?
Well, right off the bat.
Brian?
Yes.
I can be on for like an hour today, and I do have the video callbacks.
Oh, good. Okay.
To the stack.
Okay.
Yeah.
We will sort of shortlist you on the agenda, if you will.
Okay.
Thanks for letting us know.
I didn't get as much done as I wanted. I got some of it done on marrying up the video player with creating statements to then be sent by the part that Joan did, but I've got sort of the outline of it, so I can show you that.
Okay.
But it's not in a finished state.
Joan will be joining us later, like in about an hour. If you don't mind, Martin, we'll hold you off until she can join.
Yep.
She may want to springboard off what you're going to show. Peter, I apologize, but we sort of have to manage that. Anyone else want to offer any updates on what they've been able to do shortly? Nope.
I've had a pretty busy week. I had a production update for a mobile app for a client, so that's eaten quite a bit of my time. And I went and got my first COVID shot today, so that ate up a little bit of my time as well. So all I've really been able to get in my demo was I did add the ability, and again, this was the JavaScript in the browser widget that was testing when someone had scrolled to the bottom, in theory, reading everything. I was able to load in local image files on the fly, just by sort of replacing the image source with a base 64 version of that file locally. And that still worked. I'm able to test when someone gets to the bottom of that image. I thought it'd be just as easy as swapping out the MIME type from image to PDF and using the same thing for PDF. That didn't work quite as well. So I can show it's not much different than what we had. I still have not tied in any of the xAPI calls. I was still working more on really just the proof of concept of getting that scroll and
Okay.
the capturing of the bottom to work.
Understood. We appreciate it. Andrew, I know you have other commitments, so we appreciate the time you can give it. I think at that point, I want to pull up the agenda and hit share. And that will also prompt me to hang slightly. There we go. So I'm a bit concerned. I'm hoping I'm not frozen or you guys aren't frozen. So just give me a thumbs up quick. Okay, good. It sort of glitched when I switched over to sharing mode, so I just wanted to make sure. So before the meeting, I sent out the agenda without this applications planning part, and I'm sort of concerned after I sent that I sort of ran this outline, so I wanted to just talk through this and see if where we need to go from here is where I think we need to go. And in this case, I'm going to lean on a couple of the guys with a little more project management and coding experience to say we're okay or we need to focus on this a little better. The short term is we have time set for the 22nd of April to do a presentation that's about 15 minutes. Helen has put together a sample PowerPoint. And basically the outline up here is what I would use to update that PowerPoint. And I'm fine with doing that. But I just sort of wanted to walk through these bullets quickly and see if you guys are nodding at where we're at. So this is, I'm literally on this bullet right here. In that sense, where we are is we've talked about building learning record provider examples. I think Martin and frankly, the xAPI reporter that Joan has created and then we as a team updated are two examples of that. And one of the questions is, okay, how do we blend those together into a single project? And I think that's one of the where are we is we've got two LRPs, if you will, and need a single moving forward I'll put in. Does that make sense to people?
Well, the one thing I was thinking is that the single product is a library that you just write commands in whichever your provider is, so that and I know that Joan was trying to structure it that way, that all of her code was pushed down to the card or the stack. But so the library would just be, add actor, add verb,
Okay.
send statement. And so that it doesn't matter whether it's the offline thing or a video or some other, you have the basic library that is the foundation. And so the two projects are the demonstrations of using that as different applications.
I think that makes sense, Martin. I think that
And if
gets
we
us
go-
into the where we're going fairly well, is that we need to move forward into building. And I think part of these questions will be answered once Martin sort of shows where he's been able to progress to. So we can leave the what needs to be done next sort of open for now. And then these again are our key deadlines, as we've got the cohort reserved for 4/22 for a 15-minute presentation. The xAPI is sort of the possibility of presentation. We aren't committed to it, but it would be a 45-minute presentation. And then the other sort of outstanding issue is one of the earlier contributors from the LiveCode LiveCode group, David Boville, has not been able to sort of make the xAPI cohort side of things. I've tried to communicate with him via Slack and email and multiple channels, and I'm getting occasional updates that he's working on something for us, but I guess the concern really is how do we integrate him if he hasn't integrated himself. So I don't want to, I'm not really recommending it until we hear back that we exclude anything he's got, but I'm very concerned that we're not interacting with him as part of our team. So just put it out there like that and we'll move forward. So what I wanted to do is just briefly revisit these goals. We talked about having the LRP, and then I talked about version 1.0. It's really 2.0.8 that I just uploaded. Let me restate that. Version 1 was by Joan. The 2.0.8 is by Joan and the rest of the team. And then Martin's project. I'm not sure what to call it at this point.
It's just the, well, wait, I don't know, like I don't know. It's just a player object, I guess. The play, like what you have down before, the video player.
There we go. And then the other piece, what I'm realizing is we had talked about having, what I saw was a finish line and another start line. But what it's done is sort of morphed into, we've added in elements in these projects that help us work with the video for Martin and the PDF for Andrew. And I guess that made it a concern, but it's not, truly it's not. They're moving forward and we have progress on them is what it comes down to. And again, I put these URLs out there. They're coming from this video profile behind me that has, like I said, it's obscured for me, so I have to move things around. The templates page has example of the JSON. The data model page has details on each of the verbs, and it's in this table format. So if you need to look at it, I'll show, the URLs are out there, and I've shared them in Slack, and I'll make sure they get in GitHub for our notes and all that. And then the PDF side of things, like Andrew mentioned, is he is tackling that right now solo. So Andrew, I think part of the question specific for you is that at a point where you would be comfortable sharing it and having some of us try and tackle the next level, or do you think you're going to have some timing in the next few days to make improvements? I'm really looking at you.
I think I can get a little bit more on that.
Okay.
I never felt that it would be sort of a standalone. I really saw it more as a proof of concept.
Yeah.
Honestly, I like Joan's sort of master branch of this. I think it would be much easier to just sort of work into whatever library or set of functions is in that 2.08, and moving on. So I will just keep working with the intent that this would be something that would just kind of still call off of whatever she had. But yeah, I think I can get a little bit more progress made towards the PDF function of it. But just with the image portion alone, that feels promising because that is another acceptable media type.
Okay. Then, that's sort of the feedback I needed also for the presentation. Because from my point of view, we talked about having the video profile as sort of as the follow-on project, and then possibly others. And what I want to do is phrase things moving forward, specifically for the presentation, that the video profile is sort of our step into moving into content. And I'll put it out there as this: if you feel like we could demo the PDF as we get closer to the presentation side of things, I'll ask again, or I'll ask you to give us feedback if you think that's worth showing. And if it's just that working proof of concept for you and we don't publish it into the GitHub, I'm fine with that. I appreciate the effort you put into it to sort of show us how to tackle it. Any questions or concerns on those pieces? So the other piece was providing an introduction to LiveCode. I think, I'm hoping Kevin is comfortable with what we have for him, and I do have other assets I can share with him, but I was under the impression that there was a lot more interest, that there might be more interest from the cohort. The truth is only Kevin and I signed up on the when to meet, and that sort of indicated to me bluntly that there was limited interest, and I'm struggling, we're all struggling with timing for this, so I struggled to really build a one-on-one kind of session for Kevin as we'd envisioned a large encompassing piece. So what I did was I located some of the materials that LiveCode, the organization in Edinburgh, has published, and made one of them available to Kevin through YouTube. So Kevin, were you able to work through that video? I'm not hearing anything.
I didn't have much time with that.
Okay.
In the,
I'm not trying to put you on the spot. It's just it was one of the agenda items. So that sort of tells me that, even though you had signed up for it and were interested, it's like, well, if we've been working as a team and showing our progress, and I think some of the people that are new to LiveCode, Kevin, unfortunately, you're the only one on the call right now, so you're in the spotlight. But Joan and Helen and the others that are new to LiveCode have sort of been able to dive in as we went through and showed what we were doing. So I think we were able to sort of bring you along. Right. But if you're feeling like you need help, or reach out to us individually, or raise the issue in the team meeting, however you want to approach it. We don't want to leave you hanging, is what I'm getting to.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So the project's underway. I just pulled this from our earlier meeting, and we've sort of talked through all of this. I guess this is the only one that has a question mark next to it for me. Martin, did you do anything else with... I'm struggling over it. Glass
with
blade?
Which one? Oh, grass blade. Yeah. Okay. That's the one I was going to show you.
Okay. It is part of that. Okay. I wasn't sure if that was using glass blade or not. So that's sort of where we're at. And then this is the updates from last week. So that hasn't really changed. So that's really as far as I wanted to work through for the application planning and presentation planning piece. The other question to ask, and this is sort of a team-based question, is I want each of you to sort of chime in and let me know what you would prefer. We've been taking turns with the presentation. I said terms, but I mean turns. And, the options are we could each build a short video. We could do this in a team meeting. It doesn't have to be on you. It could be you presenting out to the team like Martin is planning to do, and just as an update, you give us the latest version, and we record that and present that out to the xAPI cohort. The other part of that is generally we would present some PowerPoint. Helen has sort of given us the starter on that. Again, I mentioned I'm willing to take that forward. I'm also willing to present it, but I want to make sure the team has the option and doesn't just fall back on we have this one guy who's willing to do it. We should all be represented there and all be online for that, preferably on camera for that. And if you're able, doing a live update is good. Doing a recorded update, like I mentioned, is also good because that gives you the ability to be online and answer questions about your section. So let me ask, the question is, are you all willing to participate in that as presenters? We don't really have a way to vote. Can I get thumbs up or nods?
What was that date and time again?
4:22, and we don't have a specific time. So it's 2 p.m. during the regular xAPI cohort presentation time. So it'd be between 2 and 3 Eastern time, I suppose I should say.
I have a 1:30 reoccurring meeting
Okay.
that I will not be able to bow out of.
So, I mean, specific to you, Andrew, like I said, if you want, you can sort of present out. We can capture what you have next week or at a separate time outside of the team meeting time, and then present that as a video. And if you're online, answer questions, that will be helpful. If not, the rest of us can sort of capture them and funnel back to you. But again, the idea is for the cohort, we want to have a team present, not me as an individual. So
how does that, like, what format is that? Is that a Zoom? What is?
Well, have you not made their live sessions? I apologize. I should have asked that sooner. So they have a tool. Does anybody know what it's called? It's similar to Zoom.
Kaltura.
Yeah, Kaltura.
It's Kaltura, and it's called Row. But it's just yet another video conferencing platform.
Okay, that works well because actually my reoccurring meeting is in Teams, and I've discovered that I can actually multi-attend meetings as long as they're different platforms.
Yeah.
So, like, I couldn't actively participate on camera, but I could probably be available in like chat or something to. So yeah, that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, we'd appreciate it, and that way you're represented as well. Anybody else have concerns, Peter?
Just I could do whatever.
Okay.
I can do the meeting. Yeah.
One of the things I keep losing my Zoom window. I can barely participate in one, let alone multi. But yeah. Okay, here I've got the meetings, the thing. So my first cohort was last fall, and I was in the team.
Zoom?
Not Zoom. Was it Zoom? Something like that. Anyways, what was interesting was the person who did the presentation, who did the most of the presentation, or sort of emceed it, but did some of the meat of it, was one of the people who was not so familiar with the tech side of it. And she was determined that she was going to do that. And I thought that was good, like as her own learning experience, but I thought it was good because she could filter out what we had said in our 2-hour meetings and condense it down to something that could get into 15 minutes, right, with the different technical people. And so it also demonstrated the whole process of learning. Like the whole point of this is to learn something. And so that would be a good way of doing it. And right now, Joan and Helen aren't on, but I think they should play a big role in, like Helen's doing her project, Joan's doing the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
But I think the newer people to LiveCode, Kevin too, should be the people who should be sort of more picked first, so that, because the tendency might be say, oh, other people know more than me, I better not say anything. It's actually probably better the other way around, to have the people who have learned through this be the ones, and then the others sort of take just the answering the questions if need be, or doing something like that. That's how I thought it worked really well last time. So I think it would be good to sort of keep that idea. And I don't know, like I know Joan does programming and stuff. I'm not saying that, or Helen or whatever.
Right.
But I think they were the new to LiveCode, it seemed, and new to, so I don't want to say they don't have any background or history. They probably have more than me. But just in the group, I just thought it would be good to have that kind of thing. I talk a lot, so I should talk very little during the presentation.
Well, I don't know a whole lot, but I'm just learning it. But I can definitely, if I go through it with some of you, and just like, if I have an outline and I know basically what I need to say,
yeah,
I don't have a problem doing it. I just want to make sure I'm clear about what we did, because we've gone all around. For me, a lot of it, I'm just soaking it in. You know, I'm like, okay, putting this in here, and then Andrew pops that up there, and Warren, you put up that up there, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I got the terms. I've come out real far with the terms, and I understand your object verbs, and I understand like all that kind of stuff, and how we're trying to put together our format for the LiveCode. I just want to, you know, and I understand like the, you know, LRPs and all that, but I just want to make it too interesting for the people who are watching too.
Right.
So like, I don't want to be rambling on things that they might already know. I just want to like,
well, I tend to
kind of get to the point of what we did and then demonstrate it.
I'm just paging through the slides that she's put together for us, and this was just sort of a concepts. You know, she grabbed concepts as we were talking through our earlier meetings and sort of premonitioned, if you will, what that presentation might look like. And now we're weeks later saying, okay, here's details on our tools, and I think part of that is, you know, we've gone through and used the tools collectively a number of times, but it would not hurt for the overall cohort to go through and show what LiveCode looks like on these slides. And one of the challenges I've always had is, and she's sort of done some of that, is zoomed in on things and highlighted what's, you know, needed. But part of this is I could go through and edit these graphics so they're larger, because this to me is harder to see than it should be. There's some others that it's about the same size. I'm realizing she does have it larger here, but without doing it multiple times, cutting it apart and zooming in on each section, we could literally have that element, you know, across here in 3 pieces.
I mean, I could do something like, take a LiveCode thing and just a basic thing. They might even have a video of it, put it in Camtasia or something.
Yeah.
Make
that's
it an
the
MP4
other part,
to show up or something like that. So it's just a quick minute intro or something.
Yep. And I wasn't meaning we should try and get too much into the presentation now, but I just wanted you to see I think there's 25, 40 slides. How many did she build? 28?
Yeah.
24, I think. So my thinking tends to be about 30 seconds a slide.
I was going to say, that's a lot for a 15-minute presentation.
That's a lot for 15 minutes, exactly.
Maybe even less if you want to go.
So I would want to condense the PowerPoint down,
right,
and basically have something like this slide saying, okay, we're going to a demo, and we're going to do, you know, either a live demo or have ideally a video. And the ideally side of it to me is we know how long the timing is. We can take as long as we want to prepare what we're going to say. To me, demoing on the fly, especially an app we've built with LiveCode running, as well as Zoom running, as well as all the other tools running, is sort of asking for one of the plates to start to wobble.
Yeah.
So that's why I tend to, I'm sort of leaning towards the idea of having some of it pre-recorded.
Yeah, I like that.
Like I said, we can do that. I mean, we're doing that each week during this session. So we can do that as we approach the meeting. We'll, the Wednesday before our presentation, we should just plan on that meeting ideally being a run-through that we're recording the demo sessions, but as well as looking through the PowerPoint, sort of working through who's going to present what in detail.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And then if some of the sessions like during that go wrong, or we say, okay, that was too long, we need to tighten it up, that could be recorded, like re-recorded. Doesn't have to be with the whole group, but you could say, whoever was presenting that section, okay, do that again. Basically the same script, but just try and get it in less time, or could have had a video problem, like you say, the spinning plates. I like that analogy. My other analogy is the cake in the oven. They always they're doing the cooking show and then they say, okay, and now here it is. You always want the cake ready to come out of the oven so that it's done.
Yeah, we've been watching that British baking one, again, not to dive in too deep, but it's sort of a better presentation because it's a competition and you see what they're doing, and they're literally spinning multiple plates. They'll whip up a batter, throw it in a pan, throw it in the oven, and then they're working on everything else.
Yeah.
And
now,
it's, half the time they'll forget about it and it'll get too dark, or they'll pull it out too soon. There's so many plates spinning. But that's...
I like plate spinning analogy. I use that all the time for people.
With Joan's project, if I'm clear, she's on a phone, right? And she's trying to track the bookmarks. What is she trying to track when she's going in and out? What is she trying to track?
Her bookmarklet piece was something else. And I don't know that we've actually run with that. So in my mind, we had the video object, which has sort of gotten the most attention. We had the idea of the bookmarklet that we didn't really explore too much. But what I saw was she was wanting an app that she could, or a web page that she could make a bookmarklet out of. And the idea is, she pulls up that page on her tablet or her other device, goes into the library and looks at an article. She can capture that interaction that she's having as a statement. It's not, it's not really...
the action would be like wherever...
Too outrageous.
Sorry.
But it didn't really align, to me, it didn't really align with what we were looking at for LiveCode, so I don't think we really dove into it. The other thing we did talk through is the project as we're working on it, we can sort of build a LiveCode stack and we can each run that and work with it. We haven't even talked about building for the desktop, let alone building out for iOS. And she was sort of asking for all of that.
Okay.
Which made it a challenge to approach within our time frame. So
we're just with the video right now.
Yeah, we sort of dove in with video because we had these examples and we had the bits and pieces around, so it made it, and Martin's got the experience with what he's been building for how long now? 5 years, 10 years?
How long is the version 5 point something of LiveCode?
Wow,
like that.
So
is the video, we're just tracking the time as well on the video?
It's part of those are different parts of it, the extensions that are added to the, like if you pause the video,
right,
it will say, the verb will be paused, but then you have extensions like the time, how much progress in terms of percent, I guess.
Okay.
And different segments that have been played. These are things that are in the video profile.
Yeah. Okay.
So and there's a timestamp as to what time of day that was. So the time in the video and timestamp. So there's different kind of elements, and this is with the GrassBlade.
Okay.
The guy who is behind GrassBlade is one of the main people who worked on the video profile for xAPI. And so I'm just taking, to create what I'm doing, I'm just taking output from his demonstration of it on his website. And then I use those, sorry, my head is just, I'm barely monotasking.
Yeah.
So maybe instead of, let alone multitask. Okay. What do they call those things? Extensions. Oh, the xAPI statements. So you can go to the LRS, and so you interact with the video on one of this page of this site, and then all those statements get sent to the LRS. And so then you can go in there and just take all the xAPI statements. So that's what I'm using to try and just sort of reverse engineer to a bit.
Martin, I'm wondering if we shouldn't just switch to you at this point and have you show us that page, because I'm
sure.
curious what the URL is if you want to put it in the chat, but we'll go ahead and stop the share, which moves everybody, and enable.
Looks like you have to enable.
Yeah, you have to get me give me permission. You have all the power.
But I've also got the warning we're under 5 minutes, so it's going to be a fairly quick transition. But right now, yeah, if you just show us that demo, I hit the wrong side of it. Sorry.
Okay.
My mouse is betraying me today. I need to hit the
arrow, all the tech is ganging up on me today. Okay, there we go. Now a screen share.
I believe it's turned on.
Yeah, it is. It's me.
Good.
It's all me. Okay, which one is this? I made a nice little Hypercard home button. If you know Hypercard, that was like a big thing. Okay.
It's always nice to see a friendly face.
Yes. Okay, so I'm trying to, this grass blade, trying to make an xAPI, video xAPI statement provider. So I showed some of this to you before.
Yep.
And so I'm just trying to organize it a bit better. And it's not. So I'm selecting these as, select grouped. So the first part of this is just the LRS information.
Oh, okay, I see.
And so this is something that's static in your stack. Like if your application is hooking up to one LRS, that's just going to be something that you store as a property or you do as a constant or something. But right now I'm just entering it in here. And so your application would have a user name, and you probably have to register for that your application will have a password. The next thing that needs to be entered in to create an xAPI statement is the username and the user email, and that could be something that you use to log in to the LRS, or it's just something to identify you, like you're within the statement for the actor. Now these other things are becoming redundant. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. These things I was using, just sort of hard coding them to try and create the verb with the statement with the actor and the verb and the object. So what I've been doing is I've been trying to do that as it goes along and create it from the actual video. I was trying to think of what's the workflow with this. And I'm just going to start a new stack just to show you, just to draw on it. Just need a graphic or two. Or, okay, so I was trying to think what's
Hey, Peter. Sorry about that. I hit with no warning.
Yeah.
When somebody else is sharing, I don't see the timer, and it suddenly occurred to me we're about to. Oops.
There it goes. Yeah.
So yeah, let me just send a note in Slack. Oh, people are coming back in. Here we go. Yep, Martin's asking. There he is. Hopefully we get Andrew back. It looks like I've got it set for you to share, Martin, if you can go ahead and join and get back to where you were. Apologies for that. I know it interrupts the flow. Yeah, Martin, I don't think you're connected to audio. I'm not hearing anything.
Hi there. Sorry, I thought I was talking and joining in. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry. So I was trying to think of how to organize this so that you're not always entering every bit of information. So just having a workflow. So when you log in and you're using a certain LRS, that you enter once, and the application is tied to the LRS. So that one is something that doesn't change. When the application is working with this LRS, it has that information. Then when a user starts using it, they're the actor. Now a different user will use the application the next time, a different user. So that one you need to allow them to log in and enter their credentials. But once they do that, that stays. Then once you once you start watching the video, that becomes the object. And now start, stop, play, all of those things are relating to that object. And so that's what those are what change. So that's when once you've got the verb plus the extensions with all of the other information you can have with it, that's what you're developing that's what you're creating on the fly. So this is the actor and the object are one-time things in a session, and then the verb and the extensions are the multiple things. So I was trying to think of how do I do this in a logical way so that as the user works through it, that's what they're going to see. So I'm just going to hide all of this, which was this was just to help me understand it, and so now it's not really useful. I'm just going to hide it right now. Oh, which I can't. You got a
group?
That's true. Thank you. That's a good idea. And then I just hide it. Then I go into the custom property or the custom properties, the property inspector, and make it invisible. So it's still there, and you can make things invisible. And if you do view, you can show invisible objects and find out what you've been hiding. So I'm going to hide invisible objects. So as far as an interface, what I would have is you come to the first page, and this stuff is all within the application. You log in. And it just has oh, this is on a different screen. And just another LiveCode hint, when you you can do a breakpoint here, which we talked about, but that's sort of further down the stream. And if you want to see where you came from, this little button, this drop-down menu has all of the points that it went to. So it was first at card credentials. There was a mouse up and it went to user login. And then user login, command, it put the username into S username and put the field into S user email and the other into S password. And so those are, if you put an S, it's just a convention. So it doesn't really affect how your program runs, but generally those are script locals. So you identify them that they're a local variable for a script as you put an S in front. And so these are all the script locals that I have set up. So, and the nice thing about that is once I set them, they stay set, and then I can use them in any other handler here that I need them for. So I've set up, so the first thing I do is all of that info, I fetch it and I store it in those three script local variables. Oh, I did a callback. So here you'd have some code to actually send the login credentials, and if they're good, it comes back and says everything's okay, and then you send a callback or a message that says user login result, and I put success. So I just coded it in, hard coded it, so I said, yep, it succeeded. And then that goes here, and it looks at the result, and if it's success, then it's this add xAPI actor. So I'm not sending a statement, all I'm doing is storing the actor's information this one time. And so then, all I have is the actor name and the actor mailbox. But to create the element of the xAPI, it's the type of the component is the actor. So I just put that in there, and the agent is the object type. And so to create the array, so here the array, I'm creating a new array and it's a T. The variable starts with T, so that's temporary, so it's just within this handler. And so it's, and I've got a very long name just because I want to make sure I don't make, it's clear what it's about. And I end it with a capital A, and that indicates an array. And then an array is, you have a main variable, but then you can have subcomponents of it. So the first subcomponent is the actor. And then in the actor, there's an object type. So so down at the bottom here, you can see this is my variable that I'm working on. So first step, because I use these square brackets, that's what makes the elements of my array. This is annoying. Okay. So it took me a while to get my head around arrays. So, but what it's doing is, this is my array, xAPI statement component array. And so the type of component I have is an actor, or I mean the component it is an actor, and within actor there's object type. And this object type is called agent. So that's the actual data in the array is agent. And so the next thing is their email. And so now the actor has two pieces within it, the object type and the mailbox, and then the next one is the name. So this is, so I'm trying to, so the whole xAPI statement will be like 4 or 5 of these arrays put together. But anyways, I've added the actor. And so this is a little technique that you can use in LiveCode, where you set up a virtual custom property. So there's a command called setProp, and then xAPI actor A. So that's what I say, set the xAPI actor A with the value that I'm putting as a parameter. And it's the array I just created. And so that parameter is p value A, and then I put p value A into another script local, which is s xAPI actor A. So now I've stored that. So for every subsequent call, I don't have to set the actor again. I'll just incorporate that. And so that's the end of add xAPI actor. And so that's the end of my user login. Oh, I'm just doing some UI stuff here. So that was just going, the rest of it. So everything, that was just stuff. I'm not gonna, it's not working quite right, but I want to change that to log out and that kind of stuff. So within the card, the only commands I'm putting in the card are things that manage the interface, the user interface. So either they're putting data in and then it sends it off to the stack script right now. And so really all the processing part gets done at the stack script. But if I've changed something, like if I enter data in those fields and press login, it sends those data to the stack to process it. And then once I've made this, once I press login, then the natural thing should be that turns to log out. But it didn't work for some reason. So, but that's another day. Okay.
But you're having to set the short name and the label. The label is displayed, but the short name is what is captured by hitting the target. So
okay. And so I'll look at what Brian's saying. So if I click on this, unfortunately right now it's grouped and I can't open login. But that's because I'm selecting the whole group. If I want to select the elements of the group, up here at the top, it says select grouped. So then I can select login itself. And then I can look at the property inspector. And so it has the name login and the label login. So I may have been switching the name, but not the label. But anyways, I won't spend time on that here. I get bogged down in side things, and then you don't get your main part of it done. Okay, so the next piece I want to show you is then actually, where did my other doc go here? So now we set the LRS, we've set the actor, we need to set the object. So I'm just going to this page. This is just an empty button. I need to change the name of it to open video. Oh, the label's closed video. I want to open video. I was trying to do a toggle so that the same button would toggle back and forth to open, close, and I just messed something up, so now I'm just manually doing it to make it work. Okay, so the object is the video I've got to play, so it's logical that as soon as I open the object, then I will get anything I need to say, this is how I define it, and then I will create that object. So if I open video, it will ask me to select the video. So in this case, I'm just using a local video off the desktop. You could equally have video stored somewhere in your website or in AWS or something like that that you could put in here. So it could start with HTTPS, or it could start with a file path on your local computer. So in this case, we're doing local. So there's two things here. As I said before, the card is responsible for this is just how I'm doing it. The card's responsible for the UI. So it opened, it had click the button, it asked you to select the video. You selected the video, and so now it's going to set the file name of the player, that's the video player, to the URL that I just selected. And once that's taken care of the setting up the video, now I need to do the stuff in the background to set the xAPI object. But in this case, I'm going to have a lot more data that it needs. So here there's the number of parameters. One's field URL, so that's the full URL. And these other ones, I'll show you what those parameters are in a minute, but it has a name, a language that name is in, a definition, a language that definition is, and a type of object, I think that is. So I say add xAPI object. And so these are all the parameters, and because there's so many of them, I just wanted to put them on multiple lines. So I use the / character. So if you hit / and return, then you can just keep writing the same. This is all one line of LiveCode. And again, I think I've said before, if you hover over with your mouse, you see the name of the variable and then what's in the variable. So in this case, the object type is activity. So same as the last time, and I didn't say this is just setting up the structure of the data. So it's got to have a component called object. It's got to have an object type of activity. But then the data that's coming from that I changed, the video that I picked, is in the next bunch of things. So then the object ID, which is just the URL, is put into that part of the array. And I'm basically doing the same thing I was doing before. I'm just using the same component array with the object now as the T component, and then it has its own unique types to, or pieces, components to it. So I put the display language and the which is English US, and the definition name in to the array. I put the definition description into the array, and then I put the final the definition type. So, and then that completes that. Oh, and the verb. Yeah, so the verb that we used was initialized. So in xAPI, video profile, I had it here just a minute ago. So the main verbs are paused, plays, seeked. Oh. Yeah, so but here's the ones: initialized, played, paused, seeked, completed, and terminated. And so those are the different verbs. So that was just initialized, so that made sense. So once I've loaded the object, now it's initialized, it's set as the, so I've got the actor set, I've got the LRS set, the actor set, the object set, and now I'm sending my first statement that video is initialized. So once the, so I have a command here that will then send the statement. So that's basically how you get up to this point. Then the player itself, and this one I haven't done any of the coding yet. I just did the rough outline, and this is about all I've got to say after this. Is that those other ones, play started, is a command, is a message that the player sends once you press play, and then so I'm mapping that to the played command. Play paused is mapping to play to paused, and then the play stopped message from the player I have with completed, and play stopped is I think it reaches its end and it stops. So that seems to map. And then there's terminated, and so I was trying to think of, okay, what would terminated be? And I think I did that on close video. So I did on close video. So I would just have a button that says close video, it goes to here. I would have to have it do other things like put empty into the, like.
The other one I found, Martin, is interacted.
Okay, yeah.
As an example of expanding or maximizing the video window. I don't know if the player lets you do that.
You can. The player doesn't, but you could do that. You could do it by script. Okay. Like you can set the size of the player. So then other types of interactions, you would just need to figure out. Okay. Like seeked was the other one that I had in that little video. So you would say, okay, it just says dragging. No matter what happens, that command is being sent, time changed. So I just have to say, how do I intercept that message and differentiate between when the time is changing, when it's doing its normal playing, and the time is changing between when the user is dragging it. And the main difference is that when it's doing its normal playing, it has a steady play rate, which is normally 1. It can be 2, 3.5, whatever. But normally you hit play and it plays at 1. Yep. So, but if it's paused, then the play rate is 0. So anytime you drag it, it's likely 0. So you could say if the play rate is greater than 0, then that means seeked. No. If the play rate is 0, then that's seeked. But it could get more complex, as that someone might grab the playhead while they're playing it and drag it around, which you can do. So then you have to figure out the math of that. You're saying once you start dragging, if the play rate was not equal 0, then like I don't know. That's just the trick of trying to figure out how do you map that action onto what's expected by the LRS, by the video profile. And then some of the other interacted would be, you could add things like the time, like there's a lot of stuff I haven't put on here in the context, like there's percent completion threshold.
Yep.
So that means you say, okay, I expect you to do 70% of it to get a check mark that you would watch the video, or the time it took you to complete it, or, you know, there's a lot of other info. So I haven't got the context. So that's the next, or the extensions. So that would be the next thing. Like once I get these things working, where's my other little stack? So that would be the extensions. So that would say the user could, or the content creator could say, okay, you need to watch 85% of the video. Also, when you were sending verbs as they were playing, you could do the calculation to say, okay, they stopped at 10% into the video. They are at a completion rate of 0.5% right now, or all that kind of stuff. And there's some other, so that other data. So I'm just sort of slowly, my goal was to have a working thing that as you stop, start, and stop, and started, like basically 4 commands working for today. I've got them fleshed out, but I don't have the actual running thing. But then if that gets working, then could add more of the extensions that give you all that context. So that's basically all I had to show you for today.
Mhm.
Any questions or?
A comment.
Yeah.
You could hide the controller of the player.
Oh, right.
And do just set up your own controls.
Yeah.
The user can't drag the playhead around if that's, not desired.
Yeah. No, and I'll show what, if I can figure out where I am right at the moment. Oh, I'm in the other program, or I'm in the other stack. So if I go and right click on this with whatever tool they call this, the editor or whatever, and if I go to property inspector for a player,
It's down below.
oh, I always do that. I drag them down off screen and then I can never find them. And so there's a checkbox for the controller, so you can turn it off. And then once you start playing it, or once you go back to the this, there's nothing to drag it, but you can, the space bar is one thing that start and stop it. You could type your own code into how to play it. So you could say,
Hey, John.
Hello.
Excuse me. Too fast to mute.
yes, the sneeze button that they have on radio. Anyways, this probably won't work. I'm just trying to think, you could have double up in your mouse, so, but you would just put code in there to control the player if you weren't using the thing. And there's lots, I've done lots of fiddling around with the player over time, so I could look at my others, how you could sort of, in a sense, you're restricting the user so they're not doing something that's outside of what what you're collecting in xAPI statements. But what you want, like what I think you can do is you could, and I've done this with another program, is you can limit the scrolling sometimes. Like you could they could drag it, but doesn't matter if they drag it, it snaps back, right? In certain situations, but other times they can drag it. Or you can drag it backwards but not forwards. And that you're just intercepting the calls that are going on and allowing or not allowing it to have effect. And I don't recall for the life of me right now how I do that. So I'd have to wade through it again and see what I did. Okay. But so these are just, yeah, so the last part, this is just where all of these things would finally set the different verbs, and then it would set the verb, and then there would be a, oh, someone's swearing on our street.
How unusual.
Let's just hope I don't hear gunshots or something. That's doesn't happen around here much, but you never know. Sounds like road rage. Okay, yeah, so here I'd say like, send xAPI statement. And that would just be a call, like once you have all of the stuff done, then you would just add that in. And so that would just be the final thing. That would then trigger the stuff that Joan had done, where it puts it all together, sets the headers and post. So that's the last step of it.
Martin, have you already written the send xAPI statement? Because you have to add, I'm coming in late, so add xAPI verb. Does that add it to an array or something?
Yeah. So what I'm doing is, and I can walk through quickly again. Oh, why is this not letting me apply?
That's okay. You don't have to stop now. I don't want to.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll just quickly recap what I did.
Okay.
But I just got to undo something here. The controller was hidden. We were talking about hiding or showing the controller. So I'm just going to show the controller again. So this is its place. I'm going to go home. So basically the point I was showing is that the goal of this is not to do things more than necessary. Mm-hmm. So the LRS we set once, and that's when we create, like if the application is wedded to an LRS, then in the application we code, the LRS, the app ID that you register, your app password that you register, that's all hard coded into your app. Mm-hmm. So that's set once, and it could be set. In this case, I've just put it here in fields, but you could set it as constants, or you could set it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Then when the user logs in, then from this point on, they're the ones using it. So you don't have to keep saving that. So then you save that somewhere. Mm-hmm. And then once you load the object you're going to interact with, and after that point, you have that object, so you save it. So at each of these points, so not the LRS part, but at the actor, I set up just the actor array. Mm-hmm. And then at the object, I set up just the object array. Mm-hmm. And then in the verb, then when the verb comes, then you have to assemble the actor, the object, and the verb array. Mm-hmm. And I haven't gotten around to the extensions yet.
Okay.
But I will just walk through quickly, and then you'll see. So when I do login, then it does this. Mm-hmm. And I was just showing them there's a way you can sort of walk backwards to see where you were. Mm-hmm. So you just click there. So I got to user login. All I did for user login was I put the user stuff into script locals because they're prefaced with an S or prefixed with an S. And by convention, that's a convention. And the other thing about convention is you put those up at the top so they're easy to find. But among the script locals are also, this one's for the actor, this one's for the object. This is for the xAPI statement.
Okay.
So those are just script locals. So when I go through this, I'm adding, this is, so once I've logged in, I'm adding the actor, and this is the one time that they get added. So like, these are the top two things are just the elements that set up the structure of the array. So the names, like they're named like a name and a variable, name and a variable.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and if I'm doing the mansplaining thing, just tell me, yeah, I know. Just tell me to go on. But yeah, so then I've created my array as a temporary variable, and then I put it into, then I set the xAPI actor A. So that's the
and the A is for array, right?
For array, yeah.
Okay.
So for this, I just call it a property, xAPI actor A, and it's what it's called is it's a virtual custom property. So I just put so once I get set the property value, I then just take that value that's passed in and put that into xAPI actor A, the script local. So it will, as long as that stack is, or that application is running, it'll store that in there. When you quit it, it won't. It'll get lost.
So then, anytime you need to send a statement, you just get the property.
Yeah, you would just get those properties. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and then the object one is just, I had a quick thing with the object, so I open a video. I'm just using a local video, not an internet, but you just write the code different to get that. And so first thing, I'm setting the file name of the player, or I take the value and put it into the field, just and then set the file name of that. So I've, in the card level, I've used that to interact with the user and set up the visual, like the UI, so now they can see the video. And then now I'm adding the xAPI object. So that's a separate command. And there's lots of parameters for this. And because it was getting so long, I just used the backslash to separate them. So this is still all one line. And again, I have these parts that are these two parts here that are more just setting up the structure of the array, or used to set up the structure of the array. And now I'm actually creating the array so it has its ID, has its type.
Martin, you have less than a minute.
Okay, oh, sorry. So anyways, and then once that's set up, then.
Thanks for that, Peter. Yes, we're down to less than a minute. I apologize, Martin. We're going to have to rejoin.
Yep. Okay.
So off we go. Let's go ahead and sign out, rejoin on the same URL that you've got in Slack. Thank you, everybody. Hi, John. Thanks for hopping back in here.
Yeah. Sorry, I was late.
Okay, Martin. Peter.
So that's basically it. I've basically ran through it twice. And, but yeah, once, as Joan was saying, once I have those different, I've got the object, the verb, or the active verb, all of this, then I need to write the part that creates that into one statement, and then that one statement would be sent by the same code that you use, Joan, to send the statements to that other LRS.
And then that can be deployed like a standalone or even a mobile or on the server, right?
Yeah, so that's why, yeah, I was writing it so that the code in the card is specific to running in the card, like to however you interact with it. But the code in the stack is more meant to be a library that you could put it in a mobile, you could put it in a desktop, you could put it on a server if you needed to do on a server.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Okay. I'm looking forward to what Brian was saying you're going to be talking about, so I will stop now.
Well, we're putting her on the spot. So
Yes.
There's a couple things, Joan, and I guess I should start with the GitHub if I shouldn't do that already. I thought I had a window open, so I'm hunting for it. Apologies for this. It sort of got buried. There we go. So I need to share. Did I just stretch? No, I think I didn't. Okay. So Joan, since you're in your meeting, I reached out to, I want to say Will, to our xAPI cohort's GitHub admin, and he basically added me in on your repo. Hopefully that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
My thinking was it's better to add in a second version to an existing repo for the xAPI reporter than to confuse everybody now and later by having multiple repos with that same name. So I've added in this xAPI reporter working 2-08. I took quite a bit of time, and now I see it. I took quite a bit of time to write out some detail on what the differences in that version. But before, when I was fishing around in here, I didn't actually see what I had written, and apparently the only way to see that is highlight or hover over the version 2 upload note, and then the version 2 upload is the short description. This gives you the long description as hover text or hint text. The idea is we as a group came together and made some changes into the stack that you had originally published, and now version 2.08 is up there. And what I did since we last looked at it was add in an example from your URL to the example pages. So there's the statement data model, which is sort of what we were walking through with Martin showing examples. And then the templates page actually has example JSON for what statement should be sent. You can see the different verbs. So what I realized is there's a couple different versions of Seeked, but interacted was the one we were missing. So the change to full screen is example I used, as if our user had gone through and changed to the full screen. So I grabbed this and validated it, and then put it into the LiveCode stack and sent the statement, so it came back with success. So I know that that is sending a valid statement that people can now see within our LiveCode project, our working LiveCode project, that we have that. Now the challenge is, as I understand it, this link that is updated 14 days ago is actually sort of like a version 3, because you've pulled your code up into the stack level, is how Martin was describing it. Are you in a place where you can show us that? Do you want to demo that, what you've changed?
Yeah. Well, last time I tried to do it, my computer crashed. Remember?
Oh, that's where we were at. Okay.
Yeah, because I have to open LiveCode and I have Zoom too. But all I did was just do everything up to the stack level. I don't know how else to describe it. The posting and all that kind of stuff, which it's like, like Martin's code is more advanced than mine is. But because before everything was on the stack level, like I said, not stack, card level, you click the button, all the posting and the setting the headers were there, and I just moved everything up to the stack level. And I really haven't done much with it since then because I wasn't sure what I was supposed
Understood. To do. That's fine.
But
I just wanted to make sure we knew, which was where and what we were doing there. So
yeah, and what you can do is, that extra information you put here when you did the commit, you can also put that in the README file right below.
Oh yeah, okay. I'll edit that too.
Because that's, I didn't know what to put there when I first uploaded something.
Yeah, so I'm on a different machine now. I don't know that I can copy that and do it live, so I'm not going to try and tackle that. Part of what we talked about earlier, if I can shift us gears then, is, I wrote it down as application planning, but it's also what do we need to do for the presentation. And the rest of the team sort of walked through where we are. We have, in a sense, we have the 2 LRPs and need a single moving forward. And, we could almost say that, what did I do? I dragged it outside of my active window and it disappeared. We could almost say we have a third because these are 2 variations of the same, but then Martin's is also one that we need to synchronize. And I think, like you just said, Martin's sort of working on the latest version. We sort of need to look at what he's able to publish and then move forward from there. So maybe I can get him thinking. Martin, when do you think you'd be ready to share what you've been working with?
I'm just looking.
Because we could probably do something without the extensions.
Yeah, no, I think we should do it without the extensions and just have it, like my goal today was just to have like 4 commands that I could send off to the LRS just to prove it worked and have them corrected.
Yeah.
And what's today?
And I'm trying to avoid the idea of us working on it for a whole nother week.
Yeah. So I can send what I can. What do I have to do tomorrow? I just got I got bogged down on one stupid thing trying to change the name of the button, and I was like, why did I spend all my time on that? And I was like, it should work, it should work. And it just gets, you just start spinning wheels and they end up to the axles on sand and you don't know why.
There we go.
But I'll try and see if I can I've got time tomorrow after, and it should take me not too long to get it. And what I could do is maybe incorporate, like do a script only stack that then could be incorporated as a library, and just to do those few things. But anyways, I will keep hearing.
If you could, before you jump into changing it to script only, I would want to publish what you've got with the user interface. And for someone like me that's more approachable, I haven't really dove into building a library.
Yeah.
And the idea of just start using and sending commands to it, I'd rather work with it with an interface initially. Yeah. And then as a follow-on, if we could, build like a page of instructions and another file that says, here's a library version.
Yeah.
You know, we could even do that.
Well, what I could do is the library version could go into the that original project that I loaded in, because that's the purpose of that one, was that you would just add library files and then you'd add an interface.
Oh, okay.
And then it just is, everything else is taken care of.
I see.
So
the library
okay,
version...
I'll try and get tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow I won't be able to make the cohort because I have work till 3, but I've got some time after that.
Okay.
That I'll try and finish it off and then send it out.
So maybe hopeful for Saturday afternoon? Hopeful by Saturday afternoon?
Oh, okay, sure. Give me an extra 2 days. That will be good.
Well, that way, like I said, my concern is I don't want to, you know, just
no,
presume
not another
it's going to
week.
be Wednesday.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to put the pressure on you. If you need more time, it's certainly yours to push back with. And then what I did, if I spelled it right, was capture. We're talking about a user interface version, and then the library version added to the LeVure project in GitHub.
Yeah,
later.
Just something like that. Yeah. And basically, all I'm doing is I'm writing everything I'm putting into the script is what's going to be put into the library. So the script will just have a behavior in the simplest form, and that will be the library. But in LeVure, it has a little bit more of a structured way that you put it in a certain folder, and it gets loaded.
Yeah.
When it's launching, but it's no extra work to do go either route. So, but I'll leave it like you said as it is within the stack, so that people, as they're just trying to play with it, can just play with it within one stack and not have to worry about extra files and things like that.
So we would be able to use it separate from LeVure, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. LeVure is just a great big framework that does things like handles preferences for you on whichever application, or handles windows, or handles certain. It just gives you some off the shelf plugin kind of stuff that's already done for you if you're making an application you want to distribute.
Okay.
So Joan, part of what you're looking at is we started with the outline of the agenda as I emailed it and put it into Slack. And then we went in and added this section talking about our plan and the presentation pieces. And so one of the things that we didn't really discuss with you online was the idea of having these sort of bits and pieces. And maybe we ask you to either demo or record a demo of how you put that initial stack together that was out there in GitHub, or how you did the latest that I just referred to as version 3, whichever you would feel comfortable with presenting, and like a 3 to 5 minute video, or we could literally do it during our next team session as I'm capturing video of these team meetings. We could just have you be ready to do that demo. And that would give us the ability to have it pre-recorded, and you not need to be doing a live demo to the whole cohort on cue, if you would. So,
and we have 15 minutes for a demo? Or is it longer than that?
The team has 15 minutes to present and do Q&A. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm saying just 2 or 3 minutes on your project, as I've talked about it in GitHub. So if you were to talk about, like I said, this is really a version 3. If you were talking either about version 1 or about this version 3, and what I'm thinking is I'll sort of do the same thing, but if you were to talk about 1, I would be able to step in after that and say, now what we did as a team was I drafted some additional cards in, a variant of what you put up into GitHub. And I've added in cards for each of these statements, and I built navigation so we could look around at the different statements. But then we sort of have a disconnect in that you made updates for version 3. So it's almost like the way I would present it to me, you did the grunt of the work in version 1, where you actually got a statement sent from the LiveCode code. xTalk is what they call LiveCode. So from the LiveCode xTalk, and then we were sort of able to springboard off of that, because initially I added some cards, but then we came together as a group and actually nuanced the xTalk a bit to get my version working, because the navigation wasn't completely working and the statements weren't completely right. And that's sort of what I wanted, what I'm thinking would be part of the presentation. Again, this isn't the majority of it. Where we sort of want to get to is, what do we see in Martin's version? And if Martin's version is the one that's actually looking at the video and sending statements and bits and pieces, it's sort of like you built the initial piece that let us send a statement. The team came together and looked at a modified version of that and made it so it's sending all the variations. And then Martin has actually broken that apart to where it's building the statements, the JSON, from fields that are either on the screen or from data that we've already put together, and sending that as a response to what's happening in the video control.
Okay.
Trying not to call that a widget, because I'm not sure it is. Does that make sense to people? That's just sort of the idea that I have for the presentation.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, because I was wondering how we were going to do all of this in 15 minutes. But when you described it, it made sense.
Well,
but I only did 2 versions of I don't know what the third one is, but I did 2 versions of
I'm referring to yours as a third, because I don't want to confuse it with what we did as a group. So you did a version 1 of this xAPI recorder that was just a single card and had the statements, I think, on the card, the code on the card, to build that statement and send it. And then you published that here, and I took a copy of that, which I renamed as version 2, and I added in the other cards for the different types of statements from video. But these two are sort of out of sync, because now you've, if I have the term right, I want to say re-engineered, but it's refactored. Now you've refactored your code by taking it from the card level and moving it to the stack level. That sort of prepares it to be what Martin has talked about as a library that can be called without a UI, and you can tell that stack to send a statement. You can tell your your 3.0 stack, send the statement for initialized, send the statement for seeked, and that's
okay. I think it would be less confusing to people to just say the version 1 is what I did. Okay. And then you elaborated on it and did the cards. And then Martin elaborated on it and has the library.
Okay.
Because my moving it up to the stack level is kind of insignificant in the grand scheme. So I can talk about the initial, here's a statement. We just wanted to test that we could post the statements to an LRS, and I can do either a video or a series of screenshots. A video probably. Yeah.
However you want to approach that.
Yeah. Will that transfer Zoom? Yeah, you can play back videos on Zoom. Okay.
No, and I think it would be good.
I can do that. I'll try to keep it 3 minutes or less. Make sure we have enough time for questions.
I think that would be. I would think it would be good. Like I was saying before you were here, Joan. It's. I think it would be good not necessarily to have me talking about all of going through piece by piece by piece, because I get into the weeds and stuff like that. Whereas you've got more of an overall, this is our goal, these are the things we do, can have, and I think the part of the thing we're trying to do is to say, like you said, our question was, can we use LiveCode for this relatively easy programming environment to create our own xAPI statements? And these are the types of things we wanted to do. Here's the one thing we wanted to do, and here's a demo of it actually working. and that was with the bookmarklet or whatever. Here's another thing we tried to do that was sitting through VI, and the first is to one LRS, the second is to another LRS. So these are two demonstrations, and that's like our 15-minute thing. We don't have to go too much into detail, I don't think, onto, like you said, like where the code lives or stuff like that. But you could say that, you know, through the thing we learned a lot about, you know, the possibilities with LiveCode, different ways of working with it, how it's not structured like other more complex programming languages that you may know. And the other thing I think would be good is, the other thing I think we could do is if we did our 15 minutes and say, okay, this is from the same thing as the last cohort, you want to expand it, now you can take that 15 minutes and say one of them you want to spend you did 3 minutes on, you want to spend 10 minutes on, because you've got the time to sort of go into the weeds a bit, or we've got the extensions working and we want to show how, you know, more on a high level say, okay, this is what xAPI defines seeked.
Yep.
But what does seeked really mean? Or this is for B, it's completed versus terminated.
Mm-hmm.
So I just sort of made the arbitrary decision, okay, I guess completed is it played to the end without the user interaction. They played, it stopped. Terminated is either the user quit before it was done, or they closed the project because they were done. So I've got two interpretations of that. So that could be more of a discussion of how do you go from the dictionary version of some of these commands to how do you actually implement them.
Yeah.
But that could be a little bit more of a esoteric kind of a topic. But I would rather not speak. It would be a long process if I spoke. I would rather have you and Helen and other people speak.
And Martin, I just made a note. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was told that I don't talk enough.
Yes. So this is your chance.
Say more. I said, what else is there to say? So I said, if people have questions, they can ask. So you don't have to worry about me going on too much. So,
okay. So then you're
I can do this is what I wanted to use LiveCode for, and this is how I started. And then, you know, Ryan did. Yeah. Ryan can talk about what he did, and then now we have this library that anybody can use with LiveCode to send statements to an LRS.
Yeah, and the demonstration is it's kind of like we're actually taking a course, our deliverables or our whatever you call it. I'm not a teacher, but the things the artifacts that come out of this, like what proves you're learning. Well, I didn't know anything about LiveCode before. At the end, I've written a program that sends xAPI statements, and
you
that
did?
proves. No, you.
Oh.
He's helping you write your speech.
I'm quoting you.
Okay.
This is like putting words in your mouth, and they will come out much smoother out of yours than mine. But no, I'm just saying that's kind of the thing that you can say, yes, this is possible, and you can come without a background in LiveCode. You may have a program, programming, other programming languages or not, but within the span of time, working together, we learned how to do this and we implemented it. And these are possible applications for the future.
Yeah.
And maybe we could expand on one of those applications for the 45-minute one for the xAPI party.
Okay, then we've been able to send, I'm looking at the screen, we've been able to send data to, I know I sent data to Veracity, Storm Cloud, Glass Blade, firstly. Yeah. So we proved that it's can work with any.
Right. So do I understand that correctly, Joan? You used Veracity?
Mm-hmm. I use Veracity.
I use Storm Cloud and
they have used
Martin used Glass Blade. I still want to say grass.
It is grass. It is grass.
It is grass blade.
No. I didn't think so. I thought we went through that once. Is it grass or glass?
Grass, as in the cows eat.
Really? Okay. I swear, but Never mind. It's my brain.
Yes, no, that's where I started, and I finally had to come around to grasp it.
Okay. I'm confused about being confused, so I just need to let it go. Anyhow, my point was we've used 3 different LRSs, and that, I think, is, to me, it's a sign of the flexibility of the tools we're using, LiveCode, and the ones we're building, the apps, in that once you expose those 3 fields, it's easy for me to, for one of us to create the file, test it with the login credentials they have, send it, to someone else or publish it to GitHub, and then we're pulling it down going, oh, those aren't the right credentials. I can't see the data that I sent from that. So let me update that and send mine. And I've done the round tripping. I've gone through and said, I pulled the LiveCode down that Joan had built. I updated the credentials, and I went out to StormCloud and said, yep, it's sent. So I'm able to move forward with it. And that's part of what excited me about the idea of having a team focused around LiveCode, was to do that kind of sharing rather than the other teams I've been on, as we've all, yes, thank you. We've all, we've all seen that in some other teams. It's like, oh, well, so-and-so has the credentials, and we have to use their account because that's what's hard-coded on the web pages. And that sort of trips you up further down the road.
And one last thing, because I'm trying to put myself in the place of somebody in the audience, is when I did the initial script or stack, I called it an endpoint, but it really wasn't an endpoint. It was, but it wasn't. So, and I saw that Martin had taken out the backslash statements from the endpoint, which is how it should be, because the LRS endpoint doesn't have slash statements. That's just that's where you send it. So when I do the demo, I'm going to update the script first to not include that where I have LRS endpoint, just to avoid confusion for people, and just put it in
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But I have received a tip from someone else that it should have an ending slash.
Oh, it should. Okay.
Well, the idea is, I think how I want to say this is, when you expose the endpoint that you're copying from somewhere else, you should have an ending slash in there, because the code, most of the code in JavaScript, has been written to just add on the other attributes without another slash. So one of the troubleshooting things becomes, does your endpoint have a slash on it? Does your code add that? Do you wind up with 2 slashes or none? And I think there is no standard answer. But if you mention that, if you mention that we tripped over that, you tripped over that, however you want to put it, that is a lesson learned for other teams.
Yeah, because I just don't want people to see, when they go to their LRS and they grab the endpoint and it doesn't have the backslash statements, oh, mine's wrong, so I just take it off and make it look like it's supposed to. Okay.
So the other thing to mention, Martin,
You're up for the 22nd? Okay.
Sorry, Joan?
I was looking at the date when we do our presentation.
Okay. 4/22 is for the final session of xAPI cohort. I think they have a date assigned, but I don't have it in the documentation of what the party would be. And I haven't asked the question of, do we want to elaborate and go into a 45-minute presentation? Because we're sort of focused on this.
May 14th I have in my calendar for it.
Thank you.
11 a.m. Eastern, I think, to 6 p.m. No, 5 p.m. Eastern. So they have different slots during the day.
So if I got that right, May 14th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Yeah, I think so. I want to find a link to prove that. But
okay. Yeah, that wouldn't hurt. But Martin, I was just going to mention, I think what you did in the demo today might give us the video we could use for you doing a demo.
You have to. I'd have to do it. It would be better. The last time I was in it, it was actually the person giving the demos and the presentations were the people who had learned how to do it, right? Who started with, I don't know, API, xAPI, or
Right.
I'm not sure about how to program, but I want to dive in.
Well, I'm certainly.
I think it was
hoping
better
that-
for them to give it because they will convey it in terms that are more understandable than I would.
let me just say we're at a 10-minute mark here.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So
But
I would
my point was,
rather
Martin,
have
was
Joan and yeah.
I agree with you, but my point was is if you're short of time, I'd rather have you be concerned about moving the project coding forward than worrying about
exactly.
a demo. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. I'm totally agreed.
If we have time, we can capture a demo. Again, we'll look at that next week during our meeting and the meeting right before the 21st. I believe we have 2 weeks left. So that would give us a couple chances to record live demos, and then I can edit that together for the presentation. Peter, if you're available, before we wrap up, I'd like to ask you to show us what you were mentioning. I don't know if you're multitasking.
Sure.
And again, while he's getting set up, I'll just remind everybody, we're down to just over 8 minutes. If we do run, I mean, I'd like to let Peter finish. I don't want to give him a mode where we're cracking a whip on him, but if we do run beyond what Zoom is giving us, just sign back in on the same URL. And if that's broken, give me a note in Slack, either direct to me or in the team channel, and I'll get another URL built and we can finish up.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go at 5:30.
Okay. I'm going to stop the share, and Peter, I think you can
share
jump
my
in.
screen. Okay, can you see it?
Yes, I see your stack.
Okay.
I'm not. Go ahead.
See, now it's showing. It's showing just the stack itself window. Let's see, how can I share other windows?
You probably need to turn off sharing and turn it back on and pick
back on. Okay.
your screen rather than a window.
Yeah, let's see. Stop.
Thanks, Martin.
Well, it's okay. Oh, there it is. Are you just seeing the stack? Or are you seeing the tool palette?
I'm just seeing a stack.
Okay, so I have to do a new share. Not Windows. Let's see. LiveCode. Let's try this one. Oh no, that's not going to work either.
Yeah, that's just your.
That's the tool
control.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. Okay.
Yep, there's the resize.
All right. So this is a stack that I have. This is a video player right there. Shows Aaron Copeland, and basically when I click the play button, it shows, in this case, like subtitles. All right, so the field to the right here has data, 4 lines of data. And you can see there's a time and some text. And so I have script that takes these times and builds a callback from each line. So at 1557, it displays Aaron looks up. These times, 1557 has to do with the number of the time scale of this video. So if I show you the message box, put the callbacks of player video player, that's what's been built up. Let me start the time scale. The time scale of video player is 600. So 600 blocks per second. So this first line is approximately just under 3 seconds that Aaron looks up should show. And so you have, and different videos may have different time scales. In Windows, the time scale is 10 million, as opposed to this. When I made both of these videos in QuickTime Player and in QuickTime in Windows, it's a different time scale, and so I account for that in the script. Let's see. So where do I start here? Let me show the card script. Here's the card script. So this play button that calls this button's called play video, and you have various handlers here that are called, and I've broken them out into separate handlers just for clarity, and also programmability is sometimes better to do it this way because you can reuse a handler someplace else. For example, the handler called empty fields, that's happened at the very beginning, put empty into field caption. So caption of me, which is a field right down here somewhere. There it is. That's the field caption. And then the next handler, it says load data. And load data right here is put this field data into sdata, which is a local script local. And then the next one is set player. And now the platform is a property of LiveCode. The platform is whether you're Windows, Win32, or Mac OS, either one, or it could be some other, but we're working with Windows and Mac. And I do this because for callback, for videos to have callbacks, Windows needs to be a WMV file. As far as I understand, unless something's changed recently with LiveCode, you need either a .mov or a Mac compatible or a Windows compatible file, WMV. So I had to make 2 different versions of the file and put them on the server, this S3 server. And so it sets the URL, and then it sets the last line here, set the file name of the player to the URL. And then the next call is set the player, and the timescale multiplier is way down here. And this has to do with this idea of 600 for Mac, the number of blocks in a second, and the number of blocks in Windows is 10 million. But my timings here were all set up on Mac. So 1557 is for a Mac version at 600. For Windows, it would be in the millions for the first block, for the first callback. And so what I do is I take the time, so the scale divided by 600, so that's a multiplier. So it does the math at the right time for the player. So I'll show you that here. So the next thing is set the callbacks. And it says repeat the lines of this and of that field, of that data. Now it's in sdata. And
sorry, Peter. I lost track of time again. Here in the file. Send there. There we go. Ah, that's not bad. Sorry about that, Peter.
Okay.
You just get rolling and we ran out of time. I apologize. I'm thinking Martin may not be able to rejoin us now, but if you go ahead and continue, I'm sure he can see it on the video.
Okay, I'm disabled right now for sharing.
Yep, I'll go back in and multiple participants can. You should be able to share now.
Okay. Okay, you see it now?
Yes, I see
right.
you're
okay.
Stacking the editor both.
Yep. All right. So okay. So the callbacks are being set. There's a calculation for the time. So this works both in Mac and Windows. And the callback itself is this line right here. The time, T-time, which is for the first line 1557, and a comma, and do caption. Do caption is going to be the handler that's called, and then the line number. So this 1557 is line 1, and so and then at line 36 here it says set the callbacks of the player to the callbacks. So this collection of callbacks. So I'll let it run to this point. You can see what happens here. All right, so the callbacks are T callbacks, which is right here. So this is the actual callbacks that the player has as a property, temporary property in the player itself. 1550. So each line it calls when when the playhead or when the player gets to 1557, it calls do caption 1, and here is do caption, and p param is in the first player at the first point will be 1, and it says put line 1 of S data, and S data is right here. Let's not S data. There it is. Okay, S data has the time and the text that one put in the caption, and put it into the field caption, and then it says empty fields, send empty fields to me in 1500 milliseconds, and so I'm recalling this handler here, empty fields, and so it hides the caption, puts it away. And so basically that's what it does. I'm gonna let it play, and you'll see it. The first line, second callback, in a second and a half it hides it. Third callback, the fourth callback, and in 1500 milliseconds, it puts empty into that field. I could have put a line here, added a line with 600, 900 blocks, numbers, and said with an empty line, then it would have done the same thing as put in to empty out the field and put away the caption. But I just chose to make it simple and just did a send empty to me to the card in 1500 milliseconds. So when the card receives this call of send empty fields, it performs this task, right? This handler right there puts empty into field caption of me, of the card. So the couple of things to say about this, to repeat, that you do have to have, with LiveCode, you have to have for Windows, a WMV video file that will work with callbacks. And I think a Mac, .move. So the other kinds, also, it doesn't have to be video, it can also be audio. Player can play audio, and also would be a WMV and .move audio files. And for programs that I work on in music, we do a lot of that where it's an audio file that has callbacks.
But MP4 won't work?
MP4 apparently does not work. I haven't tried it in the last several years, but they told me at LiveCode that you need to have these file types. Maybe it's changed since then. I haven't tested it. But I've not seen an announcement of it.
It's just not clear to me, are you using a container? A player, I mean, or?
Yes, so this is a player.
Okay, so it's the player.
And its shape is that because that's the video that I have. I'm not showing the controller.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, that's what's confusing, yes. That's what I was talking to Martin about, hiding the controller. Because this is interesting. So when you drag the playhead around, you see the callbacks get called.
Yeah.
And that's can be good or bad depending on what you want to do. And so in the context of a learning system, you may want this, and the callback in this case is a caption-like thing. It could also be another kind of event. In the programs I work in music, as the music plays, it does an animation at a particular point. So we have a score, a musical score. It shows a block on the score showing where you are in the score at that point. So each measure, what they're called measures in music notation, receives a highlight. So it kind of becomes bouncing along as the music plays. And this could also send, I suppose, could send a statement to the LRS with something that has happened at that point in the audio or video player. So I think there's multiple uses for this type of method of using callbacks.
Right. Is this a stack you can share with us in Slack? Or?
Yes, I'll put it up in Slack.
Okay. Would you mind if I put it up in GitHub?
No problem.
Okay.
What I'll do is add some more comments to the code.
Please.
So it's for beginners that'll be clearer. Yep. And I need to test it in Windows that makes sure it works. It should work, but I need to test it. There's some oddities in Windows. I had to set the video to a. This is one of the things I had to do was.
I think Kevin is on Windows. Is this something you can look at?
I had to lock the size into position in Windows, on the Mac. Otherwise, because in Windows it distorted.
Oh, I see.
Shape. It didn't like this square shape. And one more comment about this. This is a video from MyHeritage. I don't know if you read about this. A few weeks ago, a month or two ago, where they did an AI to take photos and to animate them. So this is
yeah, I heard about that.
This was a photo of Aaron Copland in 1950 something, and I uploaded to this, and they did this to it.
Really?
And yeah, that's all AI.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
It's cool and creepy at the same time.
Yeah.
Especially when he smiles at you.
So that's from one still frame they were able to do.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
They have a corresponding video of an actor doing these various facial motions, and they mapped the eyes and the mouth and the ears, sides, all that to that person, and whatever he does, the video that they create does as well. So it's actually a free thing. You can go to myheritage.com and you can set up an account, and they allow you to do several of these. And so I will I'll do a little more work on it, and then I'll upload it to GitHub.
Okay, appreciate it.
Okay.
That's good.
Either GitHub or Slack, either one.
Okay, I'll let you know. All right, so thanks. I do have to go myself now.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Sure. Kevin, you're muted. Were you able to respond for a minute? Is this something you can look at and give him some feedback on a Windows machine?
I can try.
Okay. Basically, all you need to do is run the stack and let him know if there's errors.
Just open the stack and run it, yeah.
So if that's helpful for you, Peter, rather than trying to run it on a Windows machine yourself,
okay.
Kevin's willing to do that.
So you're just saying it needs it's a WMV instead of a MP4.
The file's on the web, so all you need. I mean,
the
video is on Amazon, right? AWS is Amazon Web Services.
Yeah.
So all you need is his stack, and it would try and show the video for you from the Windows side.
All right. Well, if he just sends me the link, I guess I'm going in there.
So it'll be up in a day or so.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate you sticking around and showing that to us.
Sure. All right. Goodbye.
Yep. Any final comments, Joan, Kevin?
Oh, Peter's gone now, but I really liked his it's the stack he did with the videos. Lots of uses for that, like annotation and all kind of stuff, interactive video quizzes and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And that's part of why I wanted to have him wait and show it at the end, because I figured it's something Andrew would be familiar with, but it's something that might be new and novel for you, me, and Kevin.
Yes.
It worked out. I think Martin got to see enough of it, but he tends to be somewhere more advanced than me as well. So, well, I appreciate your help and your comments, and I'll go ahead and put the video together and upload it to YouTube, and then see about getting an update out on the GitHub for our meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
So thank you both. Have a good night.
Thank you, Brian.
You too.
Yep.
Bye, Kevin.
Bye, John.